So put yourself in Sherman Oaks, California. The year is 1984.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Setting the scene.
Yeah, exactly. So kids are riding those, banana seat bikes on the cul-de-sac. KROQ is blasting Van Halen on this fuzzy cassette player that's just sitting on the hood of a parked Buick.
Right.
And the whole neighborhood smells like a mix of like lawn sprinklers and charcoal grills. Just a perfect summer evening.
Very nostalgic.
Totally. But then suddenly there's a small earthquake, just a quick rolling bump, right? The backboard of a driveway basketball hoop clatters a bit, but when the shaking stops, the distant constant hum of the freeway, it's completely gone.
Just dead silence.
Exactly. The streetlights die, and then the sun simply stops setting. It just hangs there, frozen in this permanent, impossible twilight.
I mean, it's the ultimate disruption of the mundane, isn't it? When
Yeah.
the power goes out in the suburb, you expect to, light some candles or check the breaker.
Yeah.
You definitely don't expect the literal rotation of the Earth to seemingly halt just for your specific neighborhood.
Which brings us to today's mission. In this deep dive, we are unpacking an incredibly bizarre reality-bending incident. We've got our hands on a fascinating stack of declassified Starfleet mission logs, away team medical readouts, and the official after-action reports from the USS Arawyn.
It's quite a stack, too.
It really is. And what starts as this routine deep space mapping mission completely evolves into a multi-layered crisis. The Arawyn discovers a 20th century Earth suburb displaced out in the middle of nowhere, complete with a civilian population that is totally oblivious to the fact that their universe just shattered.
It's a scenario that defies every standard temporal and spatial protocol Starfleet has on the books. It really asks us to look at the fragility of our environment.
Absolutely. And for you listening, we are going to look at the full scope of this entire plot today. We want to unravel a mystery that asks a genuinely terrifying question, honestly. What do you do when the fundamental rules of your reality, things you completely take for granted, like time, memory, and the setting sun, are abruptly rewritten by a power you can't even comprehend?
And just as importantly, how does a highly advanced starship crew intervene to save those people without making the situation catastrophically worse? Because that's a huge risk here.
Yeah, the Arawyn's discovery of the anomaly really sets the stage perfectly for that dilemma. Captain Sabrina Corbin and her crew are running scans when they detect this massive chronometric and gravimetric distortion.
Basically a giant hole in normal space.
Right. And inside this shimmering bubble of warp space, they find this literal chunk of 1984 Earth. And they find it sitting on an uncharted Class M planet. Which, for those who aren't brushed up on their planetary classifications, a Class M world just means it's perfectly Earth-like. So, breathable, oxygen, nitrogen atmosphere, temperate climate, standard gravity.
Which is incredibly convenient, honestly, for the 11,800 human civilians trapped down there.
Yeah.
I mean, right now they just think they survived a localized blackout.
Right, they're just breaking out the flashlights.
Exactly. They're listening to battery-operated radios, complaining to their neighbors about how the roads abruptly end in absolute black voids at the edge of town.
It's so eerie. But the situation escalates from strange to completely alarming when science officers Steve Remington and the acting chief engineer, Ryan Collingway, intercepts a distress signal coming from the anomaly.
And it's not a 1984 radio signal.
No, not at all. It is not a local AM radio broadcast. It's a heavily compressed, futuristic telemetry stream warning of an attack by species 8472, which is otherwise known as the Undine.
And that just changes the entire threat assessment overnight. I mean, the Undine are an incredibly dangerous extra-dimensional alien species. They do not belong in our universe, let alone in a 1980s Californian suburb.
Yeah, that's a bit of a mismatch.
Just a bit. If their warning beacons are involved, this isn't just a quaint displaced town anymore. It's potentially the collateral damage of a cosmic war spilling over into normal space.
But the real breakthrough comes from the Arawyn's executive officer, Commander Suzanna Batenburg. She traces the origin of that Undine distress signal and realizes it didn't come from the Sherman Oaks fragment at all.
Yeah, this is the part that really bends your mind.
It's crazy. It originated from a completely different set of coordinates, about 1 astronomical unit away from the town, but still inside the same anomaly.
Right, so she realizes the anomaly isn't a single displacement event. It isn't just pulling one town through space and time. It is a mosaic.
A mosaic.
Yeah, the anomaly is exposing multiple slices of space, time, and potentially alternate realities simultaneously, and they're all juxtaposed inside the same distortion envelope. The Sherman Oaks suburb, the Undine warning beacon, the empty Class M planet, they have absolutely no relationship to one another other than being caught in the same cosmic blender.
I have to throw out an analogy here because it's just so hard to visualize. It sounds like a broken TV screen showing 5 different channels at once. So you've got a 1984 sitcom playing on one channel and a deep space horror movie playing on the next, all fighting for the same screen space.
That is a great visual, actually. But we need to deepen it to understand the physical threat. Imagine those TV channels are physically bleeding into your actual living room.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The TV isn't just displaying a sitcom in a horror movie. The sitcom couch is suddenly sitting next to a monster in your actual house. The boundaries between these displaced realities are razor thin and physically interacting.
Knowing that, I kind of have to push back on Starfleet's operational procedure here. I mean, I know Starfleet's highest law is the Prime Directive that, you do not interfere with the natural development of a culture. But these are almost 12,000 innocent humans from Earth's own history. How does Captain Corbin justify just sitting on the bridge, running passive scans, instead of immediately beaming down a rescue team?
It's incredibly counterintuitive, I know, especially when empathy is just screaming at you to help. But Captain Corbin's command posture, maintaining a strict level 1 observation, it is the only mathematically safe choice.
Really?
Yes, intervention without comprehension is reckless. If you beam down, you risk causing mass casualties. Think about it. These people are from 1984. They have no concept of transporter beams, force fields, or alien life.
That's true.
Suddenly appearing in their streets with 25th century technology could trigger mass panic. Literally, people could have heart attacks.
Plus, the crew doesn't even know the physical laws governing this mosaic. What if beaming someone through that distortion boundary scrambles their molecule?
Exactly. What if a high-frequency communications signal from the Arawyn acts like a pin popping a balloon and just collapses the entire pocket universe?
Oh, man.
Observation is not inaction. It is the vital, necessary precursor to ensuring your action doesn't kill the patient you're trying to save.
That makes a lot of sense. But Captain Corbin's decision to wait and observe does have an immediate cost, because down on the surface, the anomaly just can't sustain the illusion. The sun, as we mentioned, is frozen in this permanent golden hour, but then the physics of the town start breaking down in much weirder ways.
Yeah, the medical data on this is wild.
Right, so Assistant Chief Medical Officer Claire Dunross is analyzing the medical telemetry from the surface, and she sees a kid scrape his knee on the cul-de-sac. Completely normal kid stuff. But then the skin magically instantly knits itself back together right in front of horrified onlookers.
And this incident is what leads the crew to the physical center of the distortion. It's this young boy sitting on a neighborhood mailbox. He's wearing a faded blue windbreaker, but the fabric keeps glitching, like it's flashing into these alien silver-seamed garments.
Wait, so why is the environment doing that? Is the anomaly reacting to his emotions?
The environment is reacting to his localized control, yes. But the issue is his control is slipping. He's actively trying to maintain a facade of a peaceful 1980s evening, but the psychological distress of the surrounding humans is causing his concentration to fracture.
Oh, so they're freaking out and it's messing him up.
Precisely. Reality is buckling under the weight of human anxiety.
And because of that instability, the literal sky tears open, the mosaic completely fractures, a Romulan bird of prey and a Klingon D7, which are ancient warships from a totally different era. They suddenly emerge in orbit right above the suburb, and they're just firing at each other.
Total chaos.
Yeah, and on top of that, giant, majestic, spaceborne creatures called the violates bleed through the rift, swimming through the vacuum of space. The sky is literally full of monsters and lasers.
It's absolute cosmic chaos,
Yeah.
and it immediately tests the discipline of the Arawyn's bridge crew. Because the instinct, when hostile warships appear over a vulnerable, unshielded population, is to destroy them.
But Tactical Officer Grayson McKinney doesn't do that.
No, he doesn't. McKinney recognizes a crucial detail. These Klingon and Romulan crews might also be displaced victims. They might have been pulled out of their own time, and they're probably terrified and confused.
That's a good point.
Destroying them isn't just morally questionable. Blowing them out of the sky would rain radioactive debris down on the 1984 civilians.
Which would be catastrophic.
Exactly. So instead, McKinney uses a delicate graviton net.
I love the tactical creativity there, but how does a graviton net actually stop a firefight without, crushing the ships?
He essentially artificially thickens the space-time around the ships. By deploying a wide, highly calibrated gravity well, he increases the local mass to the point where the ships are just pinned in place.
Like flies in honey.
Exactly. They're trapped in cosmic amber, their engines can't push through it, and their weapons fire literally gets caught in the gravitational density. He neutralizes the threat by freezing them like museum pieces under glass.
That is brilliant. But I keep coming back to the boy on the mailbox. I mean, is he some sort of interdimensional weapon that went off by accident?
No, he is fundamentally just a terrified kid. What's so fascinating about the away team readouts is the underlying cause of the crisis. It really highlights the danger of unchecked empathy.
Unchecked empathy.
Yeah. The anomalies didn't happen because of a malicious attack or a weapons test. They happened because this incredibly powerful being tried to fix things.
Oh, wow.
He saw the humans were anxious about the sudden blackout, but he overheard them mentioning how much they liked the pleasant evening weather. So, to comfort them, he simply stopped the sun from setting.
Wait, he just halted orbital mechanics as a favor.
Precisely. And when a child was hurt, he felt bad, so he healed the wound. But in doing so, he violated the fundamental rules of their reality. Good intentions, executed without the maturity to understand the consequences, just caused the local space-time to collapse.
He gave the humans exactly what they asked for, and the impossibility of it completely terrified them.
Right.
That really forces the Arawyn's hand. They can't wait anymore. Captain Corbin sends an away team down to the fragment, dressed in 1980s civilian clothes, jeans, sneakers, flannel shirts to find the boy and stop the degradation.
Going full retro.
Yeah, they had to blend in. But the moment they arrive, a violent temporal shear sweeps down the street. And for you listening, a temporal shear is essentially a wave of warped time that scrambles local physics.
And its effects are devastating. While Security Chief A. Flamia, Chief Medical Officer Rhea Amberlin, and Commander Batenburg manage to get shielded, Acting Engineer Collingway and Science Officer Remington are swept away by the wave.
And their fate is perhaps the most psychologically terrifying aspect of this entire mission.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, let's dive into that. Because they aren't killed, they are absorbed into what the anomaly's creator calls a holding frame. Imagine waking up tomorrow, listener, and finding out your entire life, your house, your friends, they were all just scaffolding for a simulation. Because the anomaly literally extracts Remington and Collingway's memories and identity structures to build a fake reality.
It takes the neural pathways of the Starfleet officers, scans their subconscious understanding of how reality is supposed to feel, and uses that data as literal building blocks to stabilize a new pocket universe.
It's just wild. So Remington and Collingway suddenly find themselves living as 1984 college students. They get arrested by a local police chief who seems to be like a sentient agent of the simulation itself, telling them they should just accept their roles as students.
A literal reality cop.
Right. It's like building a house using someone's dreams as the lumber. If the house collapses, do you lose your mind with it? How do you ever trust your own brain again after it's been hijacked to prop up a universe?
It's a profound violation of self. The Arawyn's AI hologram, Ignis, describes it beautifully and chillingly. He calls it scaffolding made from memory. Survival in this scenario wasn't about firepower or tactical superiority. It was entirely about explanatory consistency.
Explanatory consistency. Okay, wait. Is that like choosing to believe the hard math in front of you even when your own eyes and memories are screaming that the math is wrong?
Exactly. It's the ultimate victory of objective evidence over subjective experience. Remington and Collingway have conflicting memories.
Yeah.
They remember being 1984 students, but they also have these intrusive fragments of 25th century Starfleet training.
Which has to be so disorienting.
Totally. The turning point is a standard Starfleet tricorder they brought down with them, which they hilariously end up naming Clyde.
Good old Clyde the tricorder.
Clyde becomes their only tether to the objective truth. The machine confirms their real identities. It doesn't suffer from false memories or temporal shear.
Right, it's just hardware.
Exactly. So Remington, the scientist, realizes that while his conscious brain remembers living in 1984, his hands inherently know how to physically reconfigure this highly advanced 25th century device.
Oh, muscle memory.
Yes. He uses that muscle memory to turn the tricorder into an electromagnetic resonance generator to break them out of the jail cell. He has to trust the evidence of the machine over his compromised conscious brain. And that trust allows them to predict the next temporal wave and ride it back to their original team.
It's an incredible test of mental fortitude. Meanwhile, back in the slightly more real 1984 cul-de-sac, Security Chief A. Flamia finally tracks down the boy in the windbreaker.
The cause of all this.
Yeah. The boy identifies himself as Aster, juvenile stage 4 of the Meridian, which pretty much answers everything. He is not a conqueror. He is a cosmic child on a supervised field trip who completely lost control of his homework assignment.
The Meridian appear to be a species of immense power, capable of altering reality simply by adjusting the tension of space-time. But power without wisdom is inherently destructive.
So Aster felt sorry for the frightened humans, tried to help, and broke the universe. Now, Flamia handles this confrontation in a way that feels like a masterclass in crisis management. He uses his Vulcan-trained emotional control.
Which is vital here. If Lamia had approached Aster with his phaser drawn or radiating panic and authority, Aster's fear would have likely caused further reality fractures. Authority implies a threat, and a threatened god lashes out.
Right.
By offering a grounded, emotionally stable presence, Flamia projects absolute safety. He provides Aster with the psychological anchor he needs to calm down, focus, and methodically undo the damage.
And it works. Aster systematically puts everything back. He dismisses the Violates space whales, sends away the Klingon and Romulan warships trapped in the graviton net, and releases the Starfleet officers' memories from the holding frame. But then his parents come home.
Ah, yes. The dramatic arrival of the Elder Meridians.
Right. The Elders, including one named Leora, show up out of nowhere. They look around at this fractured space-time and basically scold Aster like a child who just broke an expensive vase in the living room.
Pretty much.
They literally list his cosmic violations, intervening in a developmental culture, creating a holding frame, opening a migration lane for the Valith. And then, with a wave of their hands, they just erase the Sherman Oaks fragment entirely. They send it back to Earth, leaving behind nothing but a barren red mineral planet.
Like it never happened.
Wait, so this whole multi-layered reality crisis was basically the equivalent of a kid knocking over an ant farm and frantically trying to put the dirt back together before his parents get home.
Well, if we expand on that ant farm analogy, yes.
Yeah.
But imagine the kid didn't just knock it over. He tried to give the ants tiny little couches and TVs because he thought they looked bored. And the sudden shift in ant reality caused the colony to go insane. This raises an important question about power versus maturity, which is a recurring theme in these Starfleet logs. The Meridian Elders deliver a stunning lesson to Aster before they leave. They tell him, curiosity does not make other lives into instruments.
Curiosity does not make other lives into instruments. Man, that is a heavy statement.
It is the ultimate statement on the ethics of observation. Just because you have the power to alter a situation or the curiosity to see what would happen if you do, it doesn't give you the right to manipulate sentient lives.
Yeah.
Aster learned that true empathy requires boundaries. You can't just fix people's environments without their consent, because your version of fixed might be their version of a nightmare. The true responsibility that comes with absolute power is the discipline to withhold it.
So what happens to the crew after the cosmic parents clean up the mess? The aftermath brings us back to the Arawyn. We see Collingway in the medical bay processing his dual memories with Counselor Chris Emerson.
Which has to be a tough session.
Definitely. But he realizes that while his 1984 life as a college student was totally fake, just scaffolding the bond he formed with Remington was real. Breaking out of jail, figuring out the tricorder together, surviving that shared trauma. The setting was an illusion, but the connection wasn't.
That psychological resilience is remarkable. It highlights that our identities are not just the sum of our factual histories, but how we choose to act in the present, regardless of the context. Collingway accepts that truth doesn't strictly depend on memory. It depends on reality continuing to agree with itself and the human connections we forge along the way.
Speaking of the crew dealing with the aftermath, we have to talk about Captain Corbin and Yeoman Merrick drafting the official after-action report. They are meticulously, creatively wording this encounter to avoid the wrath of Starfleet's Department of Temporal Investigations.
Oh, absolutely.
They are very carefully referring to separate timelines and keeping the classification of the Meridian as vague as possible.
It's a very pragmatic command decision. Captain Corbin knows that a strictly literal report would trigger endless bureaucratic scrutiny. It would potentially put her crew through grueling temporal debriefings that would only compound their trauma.
Nobody wants that.
No. She prioritizes the well-being of her people over satisfying the administrative curiosity of Fleet Command. She protects her crew from the bureaucracy just as fiercely as she protected them from the anomaly.
It's true leadership. Bringing this all back to you listening right now, we all have moments where we want to forcefully fix a situation for someone else or hold on to a perfect moment forever, just like Aster keeping the sun from setting because the humans were enjoying the evening.
It is a deeply human instinct to want to preserve comfort and eliminate distress in the people we observe.
But trying to freeze time or micromanage outcomes usually just breaks the reality we're trying to save. You can't stop the sun from setting without eventually freezing the world.
Precisely. Growth requires the passage of time, the experience of hardship, and the autonomy to face one's own challenges. When we over-intervene, even with the best intentions, we treat other people as instruments of our own comfort rather than respecting their agency.
So we'll leave you with this lingering thought to mull over. If an unsupervised interdimensional child has the power to fold an entire city into a pocket universe, wipe their memories, and hold the sun in the sky just to see how they react, how do you know the golden hours in your own life aren't just someone else's cosmic experiment? The next time you're standing in your cul-de-sac and the light looks just a little too perfect and the freeway is just a little too quiet, maybe keep an eye out for a kid in a glitching windbreaker.